Lucy's Kitchen, it's Lucy's Kitchen. She's Lucy and she's got a kitchen. Lucy's Kitchen.
And now that we've got your attention, let's cook. Hi there. Welcome to Lucy's Kitchen. I'm Lucy and this is my kitchen. Today we're going to make a dish that my family adores. It's sausage, peppers, and potatoes, and it's all in one pot. So it's super easy, delicious. It's absolutely gourmet, but nobody would ever know how simple it is to make. We're going to start with some peppers. Now, I've got 3 colors of peppers. I've got yellow, I've got red, and I've got this gigantic green one. We're going to use half of that. I like a lot of peppers. Peppers are colorful, they taste good, and they give it, its distinctive flavor. I'm going to just put that back for a second while we talk about some of the other ingredients. We've got this giant onion, which I love. It's a sweet onion. If you can get a sweet onion, something like a Vidalia onion or a Hawaiian onion, the Hawaiian Maui onion or something similar. It'll say sweet onion at your store. And we're going to slice it down the sides. So we have wedges, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute. A little garlic. We're going to have some potatoes. Now, for this dish, we need about 1 pound of potatoes. If you happen to have a little bag of baby potatoes, actually, you could just use those, and they'll cook up just perfectly. I don't have those today, so I'm going to cut them up myself, and I'll show you how to make them the right size so that they don't stay hard and that they crispen up just how they should. And then I'm using this wonderful chicken and apple sausage. I like to keep pre-cooked sausage around in my kitchen because it's very, very handy. This kind of dish is the perfect dish to make when you really don't have a lot of time. You don't want to spend a lot of time, and you have other things that you need to do, and you just cut everything up, throw it in the oven, forget about it until it's ready. So that's why I like to keep pre-cooked sausage. Now, in my case, I'm using chicken and apple, which is kind of a little bit sweet. And the reason is it's a wonderful sweet savory combination with the onions, garlic, potatoes, etc. You can, if you want it more spicy, use andouille sausage, pre-cooked of course. You can even use kielbasa. Any kind of cooked or smoked sausage is perfect for this dish, and you don't have to be nervous about, oh my gosh, is this the right kind of sausage? Any sausage will do. I'm using 12 ounces of sausage. You could use 1 pound if you want. You can use less. It just depends on what you happen to have around. So that's basically it for the ingredients. So we're going to cut up each ingredient, and we're going to toss them in. We're going to toss them in here, which is my glass bowl, and I'm going to toss each one with olive oil separately, and I'll tell you why in a second. We're going to then layer them in a baking pan. Now, this could be cooked in a heavy-duty sheet pan, or this is a cookie sheet, so that's kind of what they mean when they say sheet pan. It's about 1 inch tall, has a nice rim, it's pretty solid, but I personally, I like having a higher side, so I've got this big baking pan. It's made of stainless steel, and it's not super heavy. It's just the perfect weight. It's very, very similar to a cookie sheet, but it does have some substance to it. And so what we want to do is start with the onion. So we want this onion to be. I'm gonna pull out several knives here because I'm gonna need them for different jobs. So this onion is very big, so I'm gonna use my big knife, and I'm going to show you a shortcut because peeling onions can be really tedious. So I'm cutting off the top, but I'm leaving the stem intact. Okay, and then I'm going to just cut through the this stem core, whatever it is, and then I'm just going to peel off the outer edges of the onion. Just comes right off. It's super easy. If you've ever tried to peel an onion straight off, you know how difficult that can be. So she says that she struggles. Okay, so here it is, peeled. Ta-da, very easy. Get rid of all that papery stuff. And okay, So what I want to do is I want this onion to hold its shape while it bakes. And so I'm going to cut right through the core and let all these pieces have just a bit of core to hold together. And if it falls apart a little bit, that's okay. I mean, I can tell already mine's going to, but you can kind of get the general idea. Now, I like a lot of onion. And because this is the first layer, we're going to toss it with some olive oil and then spread it on the bottom of the pan. Quick and easy. So here's the onion. And I'm going to just do a little bit of this and take my spoon. And it's still holding together even though I'm tossing it. And then I'm going to go ahead and just spread it on the bottom of my pan. And make kind of a bed, not exactly, but sort of. You want it sort of even in there. All right, put that there for now. Now we're going to do our peppers. So these smaller peppers, I'm going to use the whole pepper. Whew, that onion's kind of strong. Really got me. And we're just going to take the core out, knock out the seeds, pull out as much of that stuff as you can. Very, very fast. All right. And then we're just going to slice it up. And I would say you want about 4 slices per section. And then same thing with the side. Again, you cut out the core and slice it up. Now, yellow onions have a very sweet flavor. Love them. Just like red onion. I said yellow onions. I meant yellow peppers. Yellow peppers have a very sweet flavor. I'm going to throw them in there, just like red peppers do. And so don't be afraid to use them. And by the way, you can add a jalapeno or 2 if you want some spiciness to this dish. I'm not doing that today. I'm going to just keep it simple. But there are plenty of times when I throw in some green chili or some jalapenos because, you know me, I live in New Mexico. And so I love spicy food. But this is just really, I'd call it true comfort food. When this is cooked, the flavors of the onion and the peppers and the sausage and the potatoes, it's just so sweet and caramelized and beautiful. You're just going to love it. Now, because this pepper was so big, I cut it into more pieces because it's longer. Anyway, so there we go. Now that's all here in my glass bowl. Put in a little bit of olive oil. Toss it around. And I think for this, I'm going to add a little bit of salt. Got some salt in my little dish here. And so not much. I only have about a teaspoon of salt in here. I probably won't use the whole thing, but I just wanted to have a little bit of salt on it for flavor. All right, well, move our knives out of the way. And there we go. That is gorgeous. Look at how pretty this is going to be. Okay, so we're going to just sprinkle this around. And we're trying to have the colors evenly distributed. But it doesn't have to be, you know, this, I mean, you're going to stir it later, so it doesn't really matter. Or maybe you are. You might not need to stir it. Okay. That could not have been easier. So let me get rid of a few of these extra seeds with my bench scraper. And another shortcut is you can cut these sausages all at the same time. And I like to cut them on an angle. And if you cut them on an angle, you get a little bit more surface area that can caramelize. So you just kind of do that, and they form a, it's not that they become bigger, they just have a flatter, sort of wider face. And it's very fast, very easy. Now I get in here with my small knife. I could keep going, but all right, so we got a lot of pieces out of 12 ounces of this wonderful sausage. I'm going to use my hands for this one because it'll be super easy to just put it in the pan. Once we get this in here, then we get to do the best part. All right, now the best part is cutting up our potatoes. I've got about a pound of potatoes here. And what I'd like to do is have them be, again, if they were, think about the little baby potatoes you see in the store, you know, so you think about that size. So there's a couple of options. You can quarter them because these aren't very big, or cut them into chunks that are, you know, about 1.5 inches or so. I'm going to make them into wedges, and it's super fast and easy to do that. And what I'm hoping for here is that the potatoes themselves will have their own crispiness, you know, like really good roasted potatoes. Very simple. Just cut each half into 4 wedges or more if you need to. Now, you might have really big potatoes, and if you do, cut them in half, like this way, and then cut them into wedges, or cut them into wedges and then cut them in half that way. And that is a very easy way to go. Okay, the reason I'm putting my potatoes in last is that I'm going to give the potatoes the all the seasonings. So we're going to put them in this bowl. And I'll need to throw in some more olive oil, which I'll do in a second. I want salt and pepper. And, okay, and then I've got some pepper here. Okay, and then I've got some rosemary. Now this is fresh rosemary. You can use dried rosemary, but if you can get fresh, it'd be really better. So I want about a tablespoon, maybe a little bit more, because this is going to go on to other things too. It's just going to sort of blend off of the potatoes. So I'm just going to use this whole big sprig. And then I've got a couple of cloves of garlic. So when we chop garlic, the easiest way is to smash it with your knife. Take off this papery skin. You probably already know how to do this. Sometimes it's hard to get that stuff off, but there you go. And then we're going to chop them together so that they give each other, they make sort of a paste. Okay, so here we go. Move this out of the way. Now when I chop herbs, what I like to do is take my knife, hold on to it, and put my hand on top, make sure my fingers are clear on the bottom, so I'm holding onto the blade, and then we just start chopping. That gives you some leverage. Most chef knives have a little bit of a curve, and that's what makes them so versatile. I'm chopping that up really fine as you can go. Just chop until you're tired. And make sure your knife is super sharp if you can. People think sharp knives are dangerous, but the truth is, dull knives are the ones that are dangerous because they can slip when you're cutting something and cut you. And I'm going to chop a little more. All right, that's pretty good. Now, bring my potatoes back and use my scraper. Dump that in there. All right, now olive oil. So altogether, I'd say I'm using maybe a quarter cup of olive oil, about 4 or 5 tablespoons maybe at the most. And so now I'm tossing these so that they get well covered, not only with the rosemary and garlic, but also with the salt and pepper that I threw in there. And make sure the pieces don't stick together so that you can make sure that the seasoning mixture touches every surface of every potato. And do a good job on this and you'll be happy later. Okay, so now I'm just going to put them on top. Sprinkle them. Okay, now I have a bit of garlic and olive oil, and I'm just going to sprinkle it over the top. All right. Okay, give your pan a shake so everything's kind of even. And we're done. I'm going to throw it in the oven and we'll check back in a little while. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to flip it all over with a spatula. I want to be very careful because I don't want to, break anything up. So just do that. And as soon as I get it all off the bottom, which it's really coming up very easily, then I'm going to flip it around. Okay, I think it's really looking good. Just kind of stir it around a little so that the parts that are brown go more towards the middle and the parts that are less cooked, which usually are in the middle, go around to the edges. And as soon as we do that, I think it needs about another 10 minutes. And I think we'll be done. But you want these potatoes to be tender and for the fork to go in easily. And they're really starting to cook nicely. And I think that's really the biggest thing to worry about. Everything else is just doing its thing. All right, I'm going to put this back in for 10 minutes and we'll be right back. So it looks perfect. It's been cooking for an hour and I changed the temperature twice. I'm going to talk to you about that in a second. First, I'm going to serve myself some and let it cool off. This is lava hot. I'm going to just really enjoy this tonight. Now, what would you serve with this? I think a green salad would be perfect. And maybe some crusty, rustic bread. All right, so while this cools off, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the temperature. I started off at 375. Halfway through, it didn't seem to be browning as quickly as I would have liked. And also, the potatoes weren't getting as tender as I had expected them to be at 30 minutes. So I turned the temperature up to 400. I checked again about 15 minutes later and finally decided that no, it needed to come up even higher. So I set it to 425. The reason I'm telling you this is that you should use your own judgment. I mean, there's no perfect science to this. This is just a simple country meal that you can make anytime and just check it, look at it, see what you think, poke it with a fork. And when you do that, you'll actually feel more comfortable with all your ingredients. So many variables are here. The size of the potato, the tenderness of the potato, the amount of liquid in the potato, for example. If it's a very fresh potato, it's going to be very moist. If it's an old potato, it'll probably be a little bit drier. Same is true with your peppers. You might have big, juicy peppers. You might have thin-skinned peppers, your onions. Everything cooks, the idea is to have everything cook kind of at the same time. Your sausages are already cooked. So one option would be to throw them in, let's say 10 minutes after you've started this whole thing, if you're a little worried about them. But I think Really, you can't overcook this. It's one of those things that when I cook it, I actually turn my oven off and leave it in there until we're ready to eat. It keeps it warm. Potatoes continue to brown. Everything still caramelizes, and it's absolutely delicious. So let's give it a try. I'm going to, I think I'm going to reach down here and get a little bit of this onion. Yum. Okay, there's a potato. That's my true test. So, absolutely delicious. Definitely taste it before you serve it. You might want to sprinkle just a little bit more salt on it, just a touch. This is kosher salt and some freshly ground pepper. That never hurts it. And once you serve it, you're ready to go. Well, that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining us here at Lucy's Kitchen. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And don't forget to come back next time for more delicious recipes from my kitchen to yours.